so beyond the fact that, when people say, well, are they really here? Well, I'm so beyond that because I wanted to know why they were here. I wanted to know more about their agendas. And so when things were revealed to me, I discovered that they have experiments on the planet. They have bloodline experiments. They have people that they have been tracking through bloodlines. They send souls down, and they're in different groups, and it's really remarkable. Let me just kind of start by saying that this all started actually on February 16th, 1980. There was an eclipse, and the eclipse was at 26 Aquarius. And for astrologers that know this information, for those that don't, I'm just giving this as a matter of
yes.
history. But no matter, where I was or who I was meeting for the first time, I started meeting people with these 25, 26, 27-degree planets. And I had an ephemeris that I carried around with me, and I was traveling quite a bit. And, it made no difference whether they were young or old, or everybody that I met had them. And I thought, well, how could this be if there's 12 astrological signs with 30 degrees in each sign, and there's only 36 chances out of 360 that I would find someone with one of these three particular star codes? Well, why was I drawn to these people?
Yes.
And so they were like chefs and taxi cab drivers and stewardesses. I mean, just everywhere. And I thought, I'm hooked up to something because this is crazy. Well, I decided to stand up in a restaurant, and I looked around. There was about 75 people in there, and I said, I have a pencil and paper here. I want to pass it around, and if you don't mind, write down your birthday. And I thought, surely I'm going to find somebody in this room that doesn't have a starseed marking. Wrong. Every person had these markings. I just about flipped out. I thought, my goodness, what would cause all these people to be in this room? So I went back to my hotel, and I drank a lot of wine, I got to tell you. That one just kind of put me over the edge.
Mm-hmm.
So then I thought, okay, I'm onto something. What is it that I'm really, really on? So I went to Cairo, Egypt on November 18th of 1983, and in that 2.5-year period, everywhere I went, I was meeting people with these markings. But when I went inside the pyramid and had these exchanges with the Pleiadians and had these things happen to us in 83, when I got back on the plane coming home, I started, asking people their birthdays. I never found another one after that, like that. I mean, I find them, but not consistent. It was like this was a 2.5-year demonstration, and once it was over, it was over. Well, then, a few years later, I guess it was in June of 91, many years later, I was down in Fort Lauderdale, and I was working on a project for Dennis Weaver, the actor, about the Nobel Prize winners. And at that time, the fax machine was a big deal, and there was an 83-page fax coming through, and the phone rang, and I answered it, and a friend of mine said, there's Roy Tate's going to be talking about genius in astrology, and he's going to be talking about the Nobel Peace Prize winners. Well, I'm looking at this fax coming through. I'm hearing what she's saying. I said, I'll be there. So I went to the lecture, and after the lecture, I said, can I go home with you? Can I see your computer? Can I see your charts? I was just in his face. And so he said, yeah. So we set up for hours, and I looked, and here's what I found. After looking at all the charts, 95% of them were born with the markings. They received the Nobel Peace Prize with the markings, and they died with the markings.
Oh, right. So they actually...
About 495 people. Okay, it was like, whoa.
That's amazing. So they actually exit their life with these 20, is it 25, 26, 27, is it, degrees?
Of 26, 27 degrees of any
sign. That is amazing, actually, and that just goes to show you again how the astrological chart is all about timing, which, many people don't really fully understand.
It gave me the clue on how to track what was going on here.
Yes.
It was just a clue, but I knew I had something. So what did I do? I went and sat down, and I just said, you know what? This is way too big for me. I'm not ready to pursue it. And I waited many, many years before I ever did another thing with it. I knew I had it, but I knew I had to sit on it, and I had to wait until certain things were in place where I could really maneuver with it. So that's basically the story of how I discovered it, and how I had to walk it myself. I had to see what it was about and experience it and understand that I was part of an experiment. They were just setting me up everywhere that I went, so I wouldn't miss it. And that was the main point. I was set up from day one
to do some work. So, I mean, okay, so that's quite. I mean, what you've just shared is actually mind blowing, and it will take quite a bit of time, I think, for many people to sort of grasp that information. I mean, from an astrological point of view, let's just talk about astrology just quickly. I mean, many people only know astrology, let's say, through the daily newspapers, the sun sign astrology. They might look up their sign and see a few words for the day. But obviously, astrology is a science. It's been around forever. You know, it's quite an involved subject, let's say. It will take you years to learn all of the intricacies of it. And it's also an energetic type of science. So basically, when you're looking at the chart, you're looking at someone's, the energetics of that person's life, what they've come here to do, and where they've been. And this is what you're introducing now with the galactic side, the galactic astrology, looking at the chart, looking at the star markings. So just explain to us quickly how, with what you've discovered, how that works with astrology.
Well, astrology is the basics. It shows where, how, and when. And by these star markings, what happens when I look at a person's chart that have these 25, 26, 27 degree markings, I'm like hooked up to a computer somewhere that has galactic information, and I'm actually able to track heritage. I'm able to track where the soul came from before they came to this planet. And I'm seeing a lot of Pleiadian experiments that show up in the 25, 26, 27 degrees of Taurus and Scorpio, these May and November alignments. And I'm also seeing that some of the events on the planet, big things that make historical news, they happen on these dates.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
There's like an opening where we experience a lot of different things on these dates, through history, and it's willing for me to start tracking this, and that's called the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Even to the missing on the milk cartons here in the United States. So, and then the crop circles, and a lot of different things happen. It's like a window of time opens, and also the bloodlines. Take for a moment, if you would, say you're on a spaceship, and you offer to give one drop of your blood to an extraterrestrial, and he takes that drop of blood and he runs it through his very advanced technology, and through that drop of blood he can throw your astrological chart up on a screen and tell you astrologically what you have going in your life, because all that information was embedded at your birth in your bloodline.
So
I know that just sounds very far out.
Yes, that's what I was just about to add to that. So they track us through the astrology. So the astrology is just vitally important. It's quite magnetic, let's say.
Yes.
Is that right? Yes.
They're tracking it, and now I figured out how they track it.
By the numbers that are popping up regularly, let's say.
I mean, this is just one way. I mean, they have other methods, but I have found the leader energy that goes into the big computer that gives me access to the rest of the files. That's what I'm saying.
Right, okay. Well, this is very, very obviously advanced knowledge. And, you know, it's absolutely fascinating. I mean, I'm sure in about 20 years' time, there's probably going to be lots of people out there trying to become, let's say, galactic astrologers. I mean, I would say that you're very much at the cusp of something very big here. I mean, you know, you can go onto any website online and tap in your date of birth and your time of birth and get your chart, let's say. But this is something different. You could actually go online and find out where you actually come from besides Earth, let's say.
In fact, I'm glad you brought that up because my list is so long now that I'm not able to do the star charts, the mini readings, and I've had to catch up. But within a couple of months, I probably won't be doing sessions either because why? I need to write the manual. I'm getting a lot of astrologers saying, teach us how to do this.
Yes, I'm sure.
I need to write the manual. We need to write the software. We need to put up the websites so that people can type in their star information. And here's part 2 of discovery. I'm finding soul groups. There are people coming together that have astrological timings that are matching, and they're born at all different times. But they have these interlocking planetary aspects that hooks them up to say the times they lived in France or the times they lived in England or Atlantis or the Native American Indians or, you know, different places. So we need to write the software so that people can find other people. And with the Internet the way it is, you know, it's not long before, you know, a lot of people would be able to reach out and find souls that they have wanted to meet and were unable to, but with technology they can now.
Yes, it's quite incredible, but you know, obviously we're coming into a very supposedly coming into a very incredible time. I want to pick that up on the other side. We're going to take a break, Lavandar, and just a few minute break, just a break for a few minutes. And when we return, we're going to continue with what we've been talking about, and maybe we can get some thoughts from you about where all of this leads to. Let's say, is there what is the wider reason for all of this? Okay, we're going to take a break. We'll be back.
Okay.
It's a god-awful small affair to the girl with the mousy hair, but her mommy is yelling no, and her daddy has told her to go, but her friend is nowhere to be seen. Now she walks through her sunken dream to the seat with the clearest view, and she's hooked to the silver screen. But the film is a sad thing for she's lived it 10 times or more. She could spit in the eyes of fools if they ask her to focus on sailors fighting in the dance hall. Oh man, look at those cavemen go. It's the freakiest show. Take a look at the low man eating up the wrong guy. Oh man, wonder if you'll ever know who's in the best-selling show. Is there life on Mars? It's on America's tortured brow that Mickey Mouse has grown up a cow. Now the workers have struck for fame, 'cause Lennon's on sale again. See the mice in their million hordes